Welcome to Resilient Minds 365, where we discuss the resilient stories of entrepreneurs, professionals, and students with mental illnesses to encourage you to strive, thrive, and live in abundance. I'm your host, Cleone Crawford. Welcome to Resilient Minds 365, where we discuss the resilient stories of entrepreneurs, professionals, and students with mental illnesses to encourage you to strive, thrive, and live in abundance. I'm your host, Cleone Crawford. Well, guys, we have a special guest with us today. Today, we have Dr. Jeanne Retief with us. Who is Dr. Jeanne Retief? Well, she is the founder of Figgi Beauty, a skincare brand designed to offer gentle care for anxious souls with sensitive skin. Inspired by her personal journey with panic disorder, Dr. Retief created Figgi to provide a sense of calm and self-care through thoughtfully crafted, soothing skincare solutions. With a background in law and passion for wellness, she has made Figgi a brand known for its commitment to sensitivity, transparency, and holistic beauty, empowering individuals to care for both their skin and emotional well-being. So with that said, I now present to you Dr. Jeanne Retief. So Dr. Retief, how are you doing today?
I'm so well. Thank you so much. Thank you for having me, and thank you so much for that introduction.
You are so welcome. So please tell us a little bit more about your profession. How did you get started and what are you doing today?
So, my profession and my PhD is in international laws of war and criminal law. That is what I practiced in for 16 plus years. I had my own consultancy, absolutely loved my career. Um, but then I was diagnosed with panic disorder and things kind of went off the rails. And from that kind of point of desperation and having had to step away from my previous career, Figgy was born.
Cool. And tell us a little bit more about Figgy. What type of products do you sell? Where are they located? Where can people purchase them?
Yeah, so Figgy is really a skincare line that I founded based on one of my external symptoms of my anxiety disorder, which is really sensitive skin. I am South African, and our products are all formulated with South African rooibos tea extract. Have you ever had red bush tea or rooibos tea?
I've had bush tea.
Okay, so that's not exactly it because it could also be honey bush. So what it is basically it's a herb that only naturally grows in a very small specific region of South Africa in the Cederberg Mountains. And it has a completely unique structure, unlike any other plant or species on Earth. And because of this, it's been really scientifically studied for decades. There's so much evidence behind it. If you consume it as a beverage, it's been scientifically proven to be cancer preventative, diabetes preventative. A new study has come out to say that it has a significant soothing impact on irritable bowel, inflammatory bowel diseases, because it's such a unique anti-inflammatory. And the same kind of evidence exists for using it as a topical application on your skin. So all our products are formulated with rooibos to calm and soothe. And we've gone back to the absolute foundational basics, which is what you need with sensitive skin, like using the basics, cleansers, moisturizers to get your skin back into a very good space. Um, and we also formulated everything free from ingredients scientifically proven to be common irritants to sensitive skin. So we're not fear-mongering ingredients. We don't believe in that. Ours is ingredient free because we cater specifically to dry and sensitive skin, and these ingredients have been proven to upset that skin type.
Okay. And is this online? Do you have a flagship store? Where can people purchase your products?
Yeah, so you can find us on Target.com. You can find us at ampbeauty.com, on our own store, FiggiBeauty.com. If you're in the UK, you can visit our brick and mortar flagship Figgi Boutique, which is in Hamilton, Scotland. And you can also buy our products online in the UK via FiggiBeautyUK.com.
Cool, cool. All right. So now that we've learned a little bit about, sorry, excuse me, about Figgy Beauty, we are going to turn into the mental health part of this interview to find out a bit more about your mental health journey. So, my first question to you is, what is your mental health diagnosis and when were you diagnosed?
I was officially diagnosed in 2015. My diagnosis was some type of anxiety disorder because there are a range of different types of anxiety disorder that fall under anxiety disorders. My official panic disorder diagnosis was made probably a couple months later after thorough investigation and medical diagnosis. Um, I have always been super anxious. My panic disorder definitely stems from complex post-traumatic trauma in my childhood and young adult years. Um, I think it's just something that I kind of struggled with all my life until I was finally diagnosed in my 30s.
Okay, okay. So tell us about your mental health story of resilience. What did you have to go through? Just break us down through your whole journey of what you went through.
Oh my gosh, it's been a long journey. As I said, I've always struggled with anxiety and making peace with my past. So I think the first time this kind of showed up was when I was sexually assaulted by a family member in my younger adult years. And this was after many years of sexual abuse by my grandfather. So I think that was kind of my breaking point. It kind of unleashed something. And I all of a sudden had all of this trauma I didn't know what to do with and I didn't know how to handle. And I ended up in hospital. I tried to take my own life, um, which saw me admitted to a psychiatric hospital for almost a month. But I don't think I was with the right people in the right situation to help me.
Mhm.
So the outcome of that was coming out of that, understanding that this is not what I want for my life, and just kind of forging forward on my own, which obviously didn't help things because 10 years later, I was in a very bad space. I was traveling alone for work. I had my first full-blown panic attack. I didn't know what it was. I thought I was having a stroke. It was a really brutal experience. And coming back from that was probably the hardest thing that I've ever had to do. I went through a period where I literally stopped eating because one of my triggers was this feeling of choking and that I can't breathe. And I had this fear that if I were to eat something and it was like in my throat, I would choke. And I honestly thought I was going to die. I couldn't leave the house. I was way too afraid that anything I do would trigger a panic attack, and I just never ever wanted to feel that again. I remember going to bed at night and literally passing the night like that super quiet hours of the night when everybody's sleeping and you feel you're most alone, thinking I'm going to die and I'm not going to wake up the next morning and having these horrible heart palpitations and you know, having those continuous near-death experiences of all the things you didn't say, the people you didn't speak to, the things that you still wanted to make right. Um, Having these rolling panic attacks, it literally is like staring death in the face because a key differentiator from having those is that absolute 1000% belief that you're taking your last breaths and that you are in fact dying and or losing your mind.
Yeah,
So yeah, I that was fun times.
yeah, definitely. So, um, My next question to you would be, what did you have to do to overcome or bounce back from your low points? List all the resources that were applicable.
Yeah, that was hard. I'm still learning. I'm still learning about the resources because it's a very fluid situation. And that's, I think, one of the hardest things about an anxiety disorder, or I think any kind of mental illness, is the amount of non-control you have, not just over the diagnosis, but over what it does to your body, about over the control you have about your minds and your mind and your thoughts. And so I'm still learning, but one of the key things that kind of changed the course for me was understanding that I had triggers, what triggers are, and which triggers show up for me, and how I can then work around them. And that was a brutal learning curve because the only one way you can learn is by experiencing it.
Right.
So knowing, for example, okay, insomnia is a bad sign, or if I am amongst too many people with too many noises, too many sounds, too many lights, I'm gonna have a panic attack. So I think again, like I'm learning every day, but the most important one is the fact that I had to learn I had triggers.
Okay, perfect. And what are three things you wish you had available when you were at your lowest point?
I mean, so many. I think the three things I wish the most is, first of all, understanding that I get to say no. Yes, I need help. Yes, I need a medical diagnosis. But if I am not vibing with the psychologist who
Mhm.
is learning about the most intimate details of my life, I am allowed to say no and I want to see somebody else or have a second opinion.
Mhm.
The second thing I wish I knew was that life will go on from here. I remember roaming down the hall thinking, this is the end. This is how my life ends. This is what I'm going to be stuck as for the rest of my life. I'm never going to be able to function normally again. Um, and the third thing I wish I knew was how to properly ask educated, well, kind of researched for you as a patient questions about medication. How is this going to affect my body? What are the side effects? And pushing for those questions because a lot of the responses I would often hear is, oh no, this is generally very low in side effects. And that to me translated to, okay, so I'm probably going to experience some of these. I'd still like to know the full list, please.
Yeah, exactly. Okay. So, based on what you've gone through, what words of hope would you give to our listeners? What would you say to someone who's been in your shoes and maybe just needs to hear something hopeful?
If you think that this is your low point, you're probably going to have a lower point. And that may not sound hopeful, but when you're that low, it really can be. Um, because I think it helps us understand that no matter how bad we think things are, it can always be worse.
Yeah.
So, be in that moment remembering that, okay, this is really bad. This can be worse. So, how can I focus on the positive? How can I get on to that shining light at the end of the tunnel and follow my way home instead of retracting deeper into the darkness?
Mhm. Okay, perfect. So now we are going to do a switch in the interview, just a tad bit, where we are going to, as you can see behind me, on the right of me, there's a book that says The Music of My Life.
Yeah.
So that's a book about my journey with mental health and music therapy. So my question to you is, what type of music do you like?
It depends. It depends on the day, the mood, the style. And I'm an avid music fan. I grew up with a very rich musical knowledge and history. So I really do like all types of music. It depends on what I'm dealing with.
Okay, all right. And if you were to think of a song that best describes your journey, what would it be and why?
Dare You to Move by Switchfoot.
It's called Dare You to Move.
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
Hmm.
I just love the words because to me it just symbolizes those deepest, darkest points I had. And this idea of, okay, it's really bad and you're in a bad space, but despite that, I dare you to move. I dare you to get up. I dare you to achieve.
I like that. I like that theme. It sounds very positive, very positive. I'll definitely be checking that out for sure.
Yeah, you should. It's
Okay,
really great.
awesome. So, Dr. Retief, how can we stay in touch with you? What are your social media handles?
You can follow us on TikTok at Figgy Beauty, two G's, and you can follow us on Instagram at figgy.beauty. And you can go to our website, figgybeauty.com, which will link you to everywhere you need to go.
Awesome. Well, Dr. Retief, this has been a very enlightening interview. I really appreciate you sharing your journey with us and your skincare line. It sounds really, really cool. Thank you so very much. And to all you resilient minds out there, until next time. Please subscribe to us on our platforms and don't forget to rate the show and leave a review for us on Apple Music, Apple Podcasts. Also, join the Community of Resilient Minds and sign up for our monthly newsletter at www.onlycleone.com. Be sure to grab a copy of my book, The Music of My Life, on all Amazon marketplaces to get to know me better. And if you can think of anyone, if you can think of one person that will receive value from today's show or connect with Dr. Retief's testimonial, please share it with them. Feel free to take a screenshot of this week's episode of the podcast and tag us on Instagram. You can tag myself at Only Cleone or Resilient Minds 365, and today's guests at Figgi Beauty, Figgi.beauty. And remember, mental health is not a death sentence. Despite your illness, you can strive, thrive, and live in abundance. Until next time, I'm Cleone Crawford, and I'm signing off.